Hello everyone, this is DJ Gavin, and welcome to a new thing I'm going to be trying out. So here we are in Unity. This, if you can't tell by the title already, is going to be a tutorial series on how to make a game. So, I'm still new to game development, but I would like to show you how you might make your own very small game and finish it. So, let's get started. I'm going to open up Paint so I can demonstrate all this. Not demonstrate, but you get the point. Give myself some room. There we go. So, we're gonna have a platformer game. Great line. There we go. We're gonna basically be making Mario. So, we're gonna have a little character. Great art. We're gonna have our little character, this guy. And one of the things we're gonna need to do is add in obstacles that the character is gonna have to jump over. So we're gonna have little obstacles. We're also gonna have enemies. We're just gonna make a mushroom because Mario, best mushroom ever. And then we're also gonna have things that will drop pickups and a game goal. Little flag. This is going to be very basic. We're not going to have too much content here, but it's going to be something you can work off of once you get it running. You're going to be able to add in as many levels as you want, as many enemies, abilities, and maybe alternative objectives. So let's get into it. First off, we're gonna look around in our scene. We don't have very much. And this is when we're going to ask, are we going to make this a 2D game or a 3D game? We can easily switch between the two, but it would be easier to switch between them now. So we're going to do a 2D game because this is Mario. Since I started the project in 3D mode, we're going to turn the projection type to orthographic, meaning we're not going to have a perspective that is widening as it goes out. So it's going to be constant like a 2D game. We're going to set the Y to 2 to get a little bit above the ground. Put it over here. And we're going to right click in this area, the hierarchy. We're going to create a new object. We can use 3D objects in 2D games just to make our life a little simpler and add in some cool things that you couldn't do otherwise. So we're going to start off with a cube. I'm going to click this gear, hit reset. That'll put it back into the origin and set its scale to 1. And we're going to make a path. We'll make it 10 units wide, and that should be good. We're going to save the scene. We'll name it main. No, we'll call it level 1. Now, let's start creating our character. So, we're going to make our character simple. It's going to be a capsule. Reset its position. Raise it up a little bit above the ground. So, we can do 1.75. I'm going to scoot it over to the side. -4.5. Save the scene. So, to make my life simpler, I'm going to give it the tag player, and I'm going to rename it player. That way I know what I'm looking at. And we're also going to create a new empty game object, reset its position, and we're going to call this level. And we're going to put this cube inside it. And we can leave the directional light and camera out for the moment. So, let's go ahead and create our first script. We're going to right click down here in the assets part of the project menu, create C# script. We're going to name this player controller. Very self-explanatory name. I'm going to open it by double clicking it. It will open whatever code editor you have preferred. Mine is Visual Studio Code. In Unity 2017, the default code editor, I believe, is MonoDevelop, and in later versions, it's Visual Studio, because they are removing compatibility for MonoDevelop. So I'm going to start by getting rid of these comments. I'll explain them here in a bit, and doing that, because that's just my personal preference. You can do it however you like. So we know we're going to need to change how fast our player can move. So we're going to make a public. Actually, let's do some good practices. We're going to make a private float, and we're going to name it player speed. So the reason I'm making this private is we don't want things editing that outside of the script, but we want to edit it in the editor. So we're going to put a bracket, serializable field bracket. Is that correct? I think it is. And that'll show the variable in the editor, but won't let other scripts change it. We're going to copy this. Oops. Copy. And paste this on the next line and rename it player jump speed. You'll see why this is important here in a little bit. And finally, our last variable, we're going to have a private. We'll do character controller. Private character controller. CC. Now, when we start the game, start is going to be called. So in there, we're going to ask, hey, what is our character controller? That way we have one. So now that we have a character controller, oh, probably should add in a gravity variable up here too. We're going to need that here in a little bit. We're going to call this gravity speed. We'll use that here in a little bit in order to tell the player how quickly it needs to fall back down after jumping. So we're going to go cc dot, I believe it's move, simple move. We'll start with this, and it takes in a vector 3. So let's go ahead and make that real quick. So vector 3 movement. Oh, forgot to set that. Is equal to a new vector 3. And close that. Now, we're going to set, I believe it's going to be movement dot x is going to be equal to our input from our keyboard. So input dot get axis, since we're going to be making a scrolling platformer, it's going to be only in one dimension. Well, movement in one dimension, and then jumping additionally. So we're going to take left and right, which is horizontal. And we're going to multiply that by player speed. Oops. Player speed. There we go. So that'll tell our character controller, hey, we want to move to the left and right depending on if the key is pressed left or right. This axis we are getting is defined in the Unity editor, so we can change it if we want, but by default A and left arrow are left and D and right arrow are right. That's probably going to work for our game, so we won't need to change that. So let's go ahead and add this to our player. We'll set the speed, well, we'll start with, I think 6.5 is a good number. We don't need to set any of the other variables right now. And we'll add a character controller. That way we can actually start moving. So let's see if what we did works. Oh, we got an error. Let's stop that and see what kind of errors we're getting. CC, oops, we want to make it equal to get component. There we go, that should fix it. Let that recompile and hit play. And now, moving left and right works. Cool. Now we have a character moving left and right. So, now let's add in jumping by pressing W or the up arrow. So, we'll go ahead, stop this. There's a specific axis that's really good for this. So, we're going to go movement dot Y. So, moving upward is going to be equal to input dot get axis. And the axis we're looking for is called jump. So, do we want to use jump or do we want to use vertical? We'll use vertical, because that'll allow us to go back down quicker if you wanted. Player jump speed. So that'll let you have, we can change this later, but we're going to just use this for simplicity. And let's see if that worked. We might have to do a different version of character.move. And we will. Okay. So, we're going to need, we're going to need to change this. I'm going to go move. So, now if you go back in and try it, oh, oops, we forgot to set something. I forgot. So, this is going to be the same no matter what our frame rate is, meaning we're always going to move the same amount per frame. So, in order to make it move the same amount during the same amount of time, we're going to multiply it by time.delta time. We probably should be doing this in void fixed update, but we'll do it in update just for now for simplicity. Now we'll try that without flying off the screen. We can move left and right. And up and down don't work, strangely enough. Oh, I know why. We didn't set our jump speed. Probably would have worked with simple move. Oops. Okay, now we can go up and down. So, I noticed the character snaps a bit when we switch directions. So, what I think I'm going to do, no, we'll save that for a later tutorial so that you can get this running and then we can make it better. So, this works and all, but gravity's not a thing yet. So we're going to do a private float up here. We're going to do it after the character controller. Private float. And we're going to name this current Y speed. And we're going to change this too. I'm going to remove this part. And we're going to do an if statement. So, if we get the axis and it's greater than 0, meaning we want to go up, then we're going to set current Y speed equal to player jump speed, right? Yeah. Then, right before we do this, we're going to say movement.y is equal to current Y speed. And yeah, we'll do that. And then once we're done with all that, we're going to say current Y speed minus equal gravity speed. So whatever the speed of gravity is, we can probably set this at start if we wanted to, but we're going to set it to whatever we wish. We're going to take the gravity speed and multiply it by time.delta time. Oops. This will make it so when we jump, we're going to tell the speed to go straight up. We're just going to send the character flying in the air. But if we don't have gravity, the character will keep going up. So over time, we're going to be subtracting from the current Y speed whatever the gravity speed is. That way, once we once the y speed is less than 1, not 1, less than 0, sorry, we will start going down. So we're going to set the gravity speed to, I think Unity has gravity at 9.8, I want to say 2. Save the scene, hit play. Cool. So, it's working cool. Now we're going to hit W, and we jump. Now, let's take a look at what's happening by clicking this little thing and debug. You'll notice our Y speed keeps decreasing even though we're touching the ground. And if we go over the edge, we suddenly just fly down. So that's not very good. So we're also going to want to say, down here, if the current Y speed, no wait, sorry, we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to go up to this if statement, and we're going to change something else that's going to be broken. So, with how this currently works, whenever we hit the up button, whenever we hit the up button, we're always going to keep going up. So, we're going to want to say, hey, oops, we're also going to want this guy to be grounded. So we can check this, and if it's on the ground, we will jump. And if that is false, we want to ask, if we're grounded though, we're just going to set the current Y speed equal to -1 to make sure we stay on the ground. Okay, so now if we jump and we're on the ground, we will add the current jump speed that we have set up here. If we aren't going up, but we are grounded, we will stop accelerating down. Cool? Cool. Now if we run this, you can see our current Y speed is a little bit less than 1 because we're still subtracting time to delta time. But it'll make sure we don't go flying off the edge. So we're always gonna, if we're grounded, we will never go below, well, theoretically speaking, we will never go below -2 on our current Y speed. So that way, if we fall off the edge, we don't accelerate at an unreasonable speed. And if we jump, and you watch this, you can see that the current Y speed went equal to the player jump speed for a moment. Cool. And if we hold if we hold down the up button, we will continuously keep jumping. I think I'm going to keep that in, just because I love that. Cool. Now we have that done. I think I'm going to increase the jump speed to 7. And we're going to do a little bit of changes. I'm going to put this back into normal mode. So, currently, if we try and push anything, we can't push it. So if there's like a cube on the ground, actually I can demonstrate this. We're just going to put a little cube, reset its position, and we're going to put it in the air a little bit. We're going to add a rigid body to it. This allows it so we can like push it around and give it forces and such. And if I hit play, the cube falls on the ground, as we should expect. And if you go forward, the character gets stuck. But why? We can obviously push it, there's a rigid body. And if we raise it in the air, it falls. So, what's happening? Well, the character controller, it doesn't push anything. So, if we add a rigid body, whoops, forgot to change that. Freeze all of these. kicked the cube off the edge of the world. Sorry, cube. Probably should set that to is kinematic so it stops moving. There we go. And we'll fix our player real quick. Now if we try and push it, it's not working. Turn off gravity is kinematic? Oh, strange. That should be working. Weird. Why aren't you working? Oh well, I'll find out how to fix that between episodes. But that should have worked. Weird. Oh well, we won't fix it then. If we can't fix it, we won't fix it. Plus we shouldn't have rigid bodies moving around very much anyways. So, let's check the time. 21 minutes. We got a couple more minutes left. So these are going to be roughly half an hour, and we're going to get as much done as we can. So, we have a character, and we have ground. And we can jump on the ground, and walk across it. But our player seems to hover. Why is that? Well, if we look over here, we hit play. We are off the ground. And it acts like a sprite. Would not do that, please. Okay. So this character controller is what we have to blame. So if we change the height, we can change if it acts weird. So if we change that, it doesn't look like we're that much off the ground anymore, right? Cool, we're gonna exit play mode, go back to height, and change it to 1.9. And that will make it so we don't have an issue where it looks like we're hovering across the ground. Although we slightly are, it's almost unnoticeable, so we won't worry about it too much right now. So, what do we have so far? A character that can jump around and walk on the solid plane. So, what's next? I think next, let's see, we have objective, we have an objective we need to make, we have mystery boxes, we have enemies, and we have obstacles. Well, we can do obstacles, but I think we should start working on this enemy. So, I think we'll save that for next time, because that's going to take a little bit of time to get set up. In between episodes, I'll polish a little bit of this up, probably get some art assets if we do need them for next episode, and yeah, I'll just get everything set up and get the next video ready. Thank you guys for watching, hope to see you next episode, and bye!